Well, shoulder joint between humerus and scapula. Tell me, is it simple or compound?
Simple.
Simple, two bones. What is the shape of this joint?
Ball and socket.
Ball and socket or spheroid joint, and it is multi-axial in frontal axis, flexion and extension, in sagittal axis, abduction and adduction, and in vertical axis, rotation outside, that is supination, and inside, that is pronation. Outside supination, inside pronation. Ligaments. Here it is between coracoid process and humerus. We have ligamentum coraco-humerale, and through shoulder joint from supraglenoid tubercle start tendon of long head of biceps, and this tendon passes through cavities of this joint and continues into sulcus intertubercularis, and in this place tendon of biceps surrounds with synovial vagina, that is vagina synovialis intertubercularis. It decreases friction between tendon of muscle and bone. You need to know this synovial vagina in sulcus intertubercularis. Next joint, that is elbow joint, articulatio cubiti. It is simple or compound? Compound, because 1, 2, 3 bones, that is trochlea and capitulum humeri, incisura trochlearis of ulna, and head of radius. This joint is compound and biaxial. In frontal axis is possible flexion and extension, and in vertical axis pronation and supination, that is rotation. Ligaments, just a moment, what about shape? Between humerus and ulna, that is articulatio humera ulnaris. Here it is hinge joint. Between capitulum humeri and head of the radius, we have articulatio humero radialis, it is spheroid joint, and between head of radius and incisura radialis in ulna, this is proximal radio-ulnar joint, articulatio radio-ulnaris proximalis. It is cylindrical joint of the first type, because head of the radius, that is cylinder, and it makes movement in articular surface, that is cylindrical joint of the first type. And again, it is compound, biaxial, and humero ulnaris hinge, humero radialis spheroid, and radio ulnaris proximalis cylindrical joint of the first type. Ligaments. Between epicondylus lateralis and incisura trochlearis, we have ligamentum collaterale ulnare. Between medial epicondyle, from medial epicondyle start ligamentum collaterale radiale. This ligament goes to the head of radius, then subdivides into two parts, surround head of the radius, and attach anteriorly and posteriorly from incisura radialis, here and here. And another ligament is ligamentum annulare radii, which is surround neck and head of the radius, ligamentum annulare radii. And maybe you found ligamentum quadratum, the same in elbow joint, ligamentum quadratum. Next, radius and ulna, between them, between bones of forearm, we have membrane, membrana interossa antebrachii. It's attached to marga interossa of radius and marga interossa of ulna. In distal joint between radius and ulna, we have articulatio radio ulnaris distalis. It is simple cylindrical joint of the second type, and it is combined joint. It is and uniaxial. It is only one axis of movement and vertical axis, pronation and supination, and this distal joint work together with proximal joint. That is why distal joint is combined, simple, combined, cylindrical of the second type and uniaxial, vertical axis, pronation and supination. Next joint between radius and three bones of proximal row of the carpus, which
Scaphoid, lunate, and
triquetrum, yes, os scaphoidum, just a moment. It is os scaphoidum, os lunatum, os triquetrum. Pisiform bone not participate, and ulna also not participate in this joint. That is radiocarpal joint, articulatio radiocarpa. It is compound because 4 bones here. It is ellipsoid and biaxial, 2 axes, frontal axis flexion and extension, and sagittal axis abduction and adduction. Next is mediocarpal joint between proximal and distal row of carpus. A mediocarpal joint, it has S shape, but it's work like ellipsoid, like biaxial joint. Compound biaxial joint with S-shaped surface. And mediocarpal joint together with radiocarpal joint, they have common ligaments. Ligamentum collaterale carpi radiale between styloid process and trapezius bone in carpus. Ligamentum collaterale carpi ulnare between styloid process of ulna and pisiform bone and os hamatum. Ligamentum radiocarpium palmare, palmar radiocarpal joint, and dorsal ligamentum radiocarpium dorsale. Between bones of carpus and metacarpus, we have carpometacarpal joints. They are tight joints, plain joints, and we not describes movements in these joints. Between nearest bones of carpus, we have intercarpal joints, and between bases of metacarpal joints, we have intermetacarpal joints. They are also simple, plain, tight joints, amphiarthrosis. And we not describe functions and movements in these joints. Next, that is metacarpophalangeal joint. Just a moment. Between trapezius bone and first metacarpal, we have articulatio carpometacarpal pollicis. This joint is simple, saddle biaxial joint. Necessary to know classification of this joint. Then metacarpophalangeal joint, it is simple ellipsoid biaxial joint. And in metacarpophalangeal joint is possible flexion, extension in frontal axis, and abduction and adduction. Abduction from middle finger and adduction to middle finger. And here it is, we have deep transverse ligament, ligamentum metacarpium transversum profundum, deep transverse metacarpal ligament. Then interphalangeal joints, proximal and distal. All of them, only thumb has one joint. All another fingers has proximal and distal interphalangeal joints. All of them are simple hinge uniaxial joints. One axis frontal, and it is possible flexion and extension in frontal axis. And each of these joints has collateral ligaments, ligamentum collaterale. And last moment, between, if you remember, tubercle of scaphoid bone and tubercle of trapezius bone makes eminentia carpi radialis, and pisiform bone together with hamulus ossis hamati makes eminentia carpi ulnaris. And between these two eminences we have very important ligament which is overlap over all another bones of carpus. This ligament has name retinaculum flexorum, and space between retinaculum flexorum and bones of carpus, that is canalis carpi. Through this canal, all muscles which participate in flexion of fingers pass from forearm to hand. Retinaculum flexorum, that is ligament between eminentia carpi radialis and eminentia carpi ulnaris. Next time, when you will receive bones, you ask to receive wet preparates. And I show you joints in preparates, in wet preparates, okay? Well, today that is all.